In this demo, I'm going to show you how to join RTS-serve1 to the domain. I'm going to go to my Hyper-V Manager, and my RTS serve one's in the list. I'm just going to connect to it. It's going to ask me to sign in. I'll just enter my password. So I am signed in locally because this is in a work group. I'm going to go to Server Manager, Local Server. So you can see we named it RTS SVR1. It's in a work group. And in our post-installation tasks, I did set the IP address. If I go back to my IP version 4, 192.168.1.251, no default gateway, and the preferred DNS server is the IP address of RTS-DC1, ends in 250. So just make sure those are done. If you cannot join the domain, the number one reason why it fails is the DNS server address that you have on the machine you're trying to join is incorrect. Most common reason it fails. So if you have any issues, if you do this in your own environments, just double check that if it does not work for you. I'm going to click on this workgroup, change, the same way we change the computer name. The bottom half of this is member of domain, and I just need the name of my domain, which for me, it is RTS networking.local. It's working. If anything had went wrong, you would have received an error message. Now it's asking for the user account that I want to use to join this to the domain. I'm going to use my domain administrator account, and we'll just click OK. That will give me a message. There it is that says welcome. So this has now been successfully joined to the domain. And I just have to reboot the server. If I am trying to join Windows 10 or Windows 11, it is exactly the same process. Go to the System Properties, Computer Name tab, your domain, just join the domain. An interesting thing to be aware of. Notice right now it says sign in to RTS networking. That's the domain. That is what we want. But if I type administrator, did you see what happened? When I typed administrator, it changed to the local machine. If I delete this R off administrator, notice it changes back to RTS networking. So the way this works in newer operating systems, every time you sign in, it checks to see if that is a local username. The moment I type R, the computer you're actually using, whether it's client or server, both do this. It says, well, what do you know? I have a local account named administrator. That's probably the one that you actually want to use. If you type in any account that is not an account that lives on the client or server you're trying to log into, then it automatically defaults to be the domain name. The weird part about that, all computers have an account named administrator, and that is also the name of the domain administrator account that you actually have. So by default, you do have two accounts named administrator. Easy fix. You just type RTS networking /. This automatically sets your sign into the domain. So now when I sign in, it's going to be the RTS networking domain administrator. Now you only have to do this one time. When you come back and sign in subsequent times, it's going to retain that RTS networking because by default, it does remember your previous logins. So now I will enter my domain password, and it's going to sign me in. Now, the first time you sign in, it's going to take a moment because it's building your user profile because I've never signed in to this server with that account, but we are already in. Now, I'm just going to go to PowerShell for a moment. And in PowerShell, I'm just going to type when it drops down to the cursor. Takes a moment because a lot of things load the very first time you log in. I'm going to type, who am I? Now, I don't need to type that because I already know. But when I type, who am I, you'll see it says RTS networking /administrator. So I know I'm signed in with my RTS networking account. The other way I know, I didn't have to type anything to know that, actually, because here it has this path, the C drive, the users folder, administrator.rts networking. So if you're signed in with a domain account, it appends that RTS networking behind it. So I already know I'm an administrator here. Now, well, I'm going to say don't show this message again and collapse that window. But now if I click on local server, I can see that my domain is rtsnetworking.local. So just like that, we were able to join the domain. How this looks on the Active Directory side. I'm going to go back to my domain controller, RTS-DC1, and I'm going to pull up Active Directory users and computers. Now, I already had this screen open and it does not automatically refresh. So I'm going to click on my domain, rtsnetworking.local, and I'm going to click the refresh icon here. Now I'm going to click the computers container, and you'll see RTS-serve1 shows up in the list. Pretty neat overall. If I were to go to Server Manager, if I click on this All Servers, RTS DC1 is the only one that shows up right now, but I can add other servers here. Now that's a little misleading because it leads people to believe that all servers should just show all of your servers. It does not. But if I right click and add servers, Active Directory this is on, I'm just going to click Find Now, and it gives you a list of all the servers in your domain. Now RTS DC1 is already in the list here, so I'm not going to add that again. I'm just going to click RTS Serve 1. So now remotely, I can manage a lot of settings on RTS Serve 1, even though I'm on RTS DC1, is what I'm logged into. If I were to right click, you'll see I can remotely add roles and features. I could restart Serve 1 from here. I could launch a remote desktop connection. I could remotely connect PowerShell to it. So a lot of things we could do. Pretty powerful.